perfect spear collecting time. Especially after bushfires, everything shoots up pretty quick and straight, so good time to get out. Bushfire does good in ways because it just helps the regrowth, just popping up everywhere. So it's just a matter of walking around and picking the best nice and thin ones and straight as.
He's not too thick, nice and light, nice shape.
Straighter they are, the less work we've got to do on them, run them through the fire, straighten them.
What happens with that, if you put it in the fire, you'll probably snap off there. So the less curvature in your shaft, a little bit easier it is to pull straight.
A few of them might have a few little bends in them, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, something about 8 foot, 8, 9 foot. All our traditional tools.
We're adapting too now to modern days. You know, we don't sail those dugout canoes or bar canoes anymore, even though we want to make them and so on. But I think what this is doing for us is these workshops that we're running in the community is now passing on some of that knowledge.
Well, see, around our place, that's just reeds, and put hardwood tips in them. And when the reeds break, the tip's still in the game, whatever they used to hit.
We've gone through a period in our lives where we didn't know about this. You know, I'd spent 40 years of my life not knowing about this information. But in the last 10 years, I've been probably more receptive to learning more about our lost culture, but at least I can have that knowledge and then I can pass it down to the next one. The next young fellas that are coming up. It's actually uniting the community, getting us all back together. It's all a part of the process of communicating with one another.
Yeah, that's the toolbox.
Got beautiful texture. Gee, you know, well. But I love this. Just love it.
I want to try and get that whole length out. So ideally I want me blade coming down there to that point.
It's said that the core is actually a mother, and each flake that you take off is a baby, which is a part of the process of napping and taking the flake off. So it's basically a baby being born every time you take one of those flakes off the core. And also it could be seen as a flower, where each flake you take off is a petal. So it's basically opening the flower up and taking petal off the flower. You've got to be able to pick up a bit of rock that may look like a rock to everybody else, but you can see some value in it. You look at it and you say, oh yeah, this is something that I can actually use and work and make something out of. So you take a flake off. So from the initial picking up that core to taking a flake off and working it into a spear point or into an axe, it's basically you're becoming a part of the rock. You need to see what's in that rock to actually be able to take it out. I suppose it's like a sculptor. It's the same as any artist, I suppose, and it is an art, an ancient art. This art had been used by our mob for tens of thousands of years. You're lending yourself to imagine what the old people would have been doing, how they would have been looking at the stone and thinking about how they're going to actually take the next flake off and what type of tool they're going to make from that core. To me, I think it is a spiritual thing. I'll sit there and think about the old people all the time.
Look at that.
Beautiful. Look at that.
Don't even need work, that's just straight on.
Fantastic.
The kids want to know how to throw a spear and that, and it's pretty balanced too, which is, which is good. And they just want to keep.
Very good. Happy with that.
stone artifacts could change from place to place. They had to have stone tools for knives, spear points, axes and so on. In every place that you went to, they may differ a little bit because the stone may be different. If you were a tribe that had a stone quarry where the stone was good enough for all those artifacts and things, that tribe would be regarded too as a very wealthy, and if that's a good word for nowadays to use, but a very important tribe.
There's plenty of basalt around this area. Most of the stuff we've found around this area has been traded, like greenstone, Mount William. Most of the ones we've found, they weren't hafted, they were just held in your hand.
You've got your cortex on the outside there, and then you've got your core in there.
The hard stuff.
The hard, good stuff.
Bit flaky.
Yeah, got all fractures and that through it, all faults.
You see this one hasn't got all the
Hasn't got all the little faults in it.
little faults and fractures. So you're looking at more towards this sort of is the stuff that you'd really be looking for.
That's me tool bag, all my different napping stones. You got soft hammer ones, you got hard hammer. What I usually do when I'm looking for a stone, I usually try and find something close to what I want. Right size, and that way you haven't got much work to do to it, because there's enough work in just hammer dressing, sharpening it, and getting it to the, the shape and size that you want.
I've got to try and get under that little bit there and lift that out and bring it around and shape it before I start to grind it.
Just got to bring him back, get this ridge down here. We're getting there slowly.
And that's what it looks like when we started. And that there, to grind down to that,
That's going to be a long time.
say about 5 hours each side.
That's not very long.
No, it isn't, eh? And what you got to do is when you grind it, you put a bit of water on your sandstone, and you put a bit of sand on it, so gravel, and with the sand on it, the sand will tear it down really quick. And that's how you do it.
Right.
And this is going to be a big axe. And that's the start then of another one.
So they're also used for hunting?
Yeah.
Well, you take your sheets off of your canoe, bark canoes, take shields, coolamans off trees, sort of robust type work, and then you'd use your smaller tools to craft them down to what you need.
You got to look at the edge for the finished product and feel what it's all about. Rubbing them, touching them, and doing all this, it just, I don't know, you become one with the artifact, because you're forever feeling the edge to make sure whether you've got the right camber on there for the cutting and things like that. So that's why you keep feeling the edge, and when it feels good, you've finished it then. And if it don't feel good, you're not finished as far as you're concerned. Oh, you get very attached to them, because when you make the axe, it's part of you. It's part of what you believe in, what you feel. Because when you're making it, it becomes you, and that's the way the axe is. Like in all of us, when we do our work, we get involved with it, and when you see the finished product, it's just unbelievable.
How long you want these handles, Dale?
500, 600. Look at a metre. Once you split it, then you've got to bend it around.
Silver wattle. Shaft's good for splitting the shaft with your bark still connected. Bends nice and easy. Create your handle for your axe. Your gums tend to split, the bark tends to split while you're bending it.
You heat it up in a fire, so it basically softens the fibres and doesn't allow it to become fragile and break and snap on you.
I suppose a skinning knife and things like that, a knife. They'd use it, wouldn't have a lot. Me, it'd make a knife.
They'd jam that into a couple of rocks or something. They'd tighten something more here, then they'd bind it, and they'd leave it for till it starts to dry out. Then they retighten all the time. Well done.
Which is good. I'm putting the hole in the end for a spear thrower, for a woomer to go in. And because see, with the woomer, got a little hook on the end of it and it hooks into this. So, you know, this is not a woomer, it's a stick, but what you do is get the woomer with the point on it, put it down, put it into the end like that, and then it gives you that extra leverage to throw the spear, and it doesn't slip off. And then what I do is from about there to there, I'll wrap sinew around it. So when the pressure of the woomer is on the end of it, it doesn't split it. The sinew on the end of it will actually hold it and make it really nice.
And that'll just hold the end of the spear together so it doesn't split. What I want to do is put a bit of resin over it. Get a bit of xanthoria resin, put that over that, and it'll just seal it.
Plus when it dries it shrinks too, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, this will shrink and it'll tighten on there tighter. Well, the grass tree is an unusual plant that has many uses. You can make a spear, you can make resin to bind things together. You can use the fronds or the leaves of it to make string or nets. The fires had been through, and with the fires it actually allows the tree to exude more of the resin from the base of the tree. Once the fires have passed through, you can go there and you can actually get more of the resin from the base of the trees. We can then crush it up into a very fine powder, add it to hot water, and then it turns into a very chewy type of consistency, very pliable, but only while it's still warm. Because once it cools down, it actually sets and then returns to a state before we ground it. You can keep using it and using it and using it, where most stuff, modern materials, you get one use out of it. So when you're actually using it, you're not fraying the binding, so it doesn't actually tear. The resin actually absorbs all the impact from the use.
I suppose it's a bit of a privilege to come down here, show different people what you know and how the tools were made.
Peace of mind, I suppose. Yeah. Try and keep our tradition alive, because our tradition is nearly lost.
It's like anything that you make. If you make a good job of it, that's the pride in the workmanship. There's the pride of it all.
There you go, I suppose.
Very productive day today. On the fire out.